Hello, pedal people who will not hear a pedal, but see things that power pedals. Remember all those videos that you found so interesting with Paul from Cioks, who, when you take that S away, that's his name? You watched them, which is why he's here again.
Yeah.
Hi, Paul.
And it's been 4 years.
It's been 4 years. I remember that weekend talking about milliamps and in toroidal things. I have literally zero interest in the stuff you fiddle around with because it's electronics and I don't
You
understand
probably forgot
them.
everything
I know. I remember toroidal, and I know that milliamps is something that a pedal has.
There was this donut we talked about a lot.
Yeah, so that's why I remember, because I can remember the donut. And then I remember using the big-ass chocolate. That sounds weird, but I mean, quite a bit. And I know that it's somewhere, the DC5, which is now over there. It says DG5. No, that's DC5. It just looks like. Let's see, go to the guitar cam, which is now, of course, the power supply cam. That's my DC5. And don't you take that back home, Paul. I've used that quite a bit because it's actually one of the, and back to me, Leslie. Back to the studio. It's actually one of the smallest power supplies, or is it the smallest, flattest?
No, not anymore. I mean, a lot of things happened since we talked here last time.
I know that the blue ones, the Zumas, weren't out. And also, I see over there, you've got a 529.
Yes.
The whole taking 5 volt to 9 volt, which I don't understand how it works, and I really hope you explain to them, but not to me, because I don't know. Is like you can take 5 volt cell phone chargey things or USB chargey things and convert them into 9 volts so that you can actually use any regular wall wart cell phone thing to power your pedals, or even power banks. But then I'm always thinking, does it make sense? Is it not a bad way of doing it? Then again, the 529 worked quite a bit for me in certain situations. In some situations, it did
It's a nice
not.
little box, yes.
Unless you try to, they say you can, because on one side, well, let's just go straight in there. So by the way, what we're doing is we're talking about lots of power supplies and what changed in the last few years and new technologies, which I don't understand, but I know that this is something new. And it's got, if we look at it right here, it's got a USB in and out, which means you can technically daisy chain these. And then it's got 5 outs, 4 times 150 and 1 500. And the 150 is the way that this graphic looks. It says isolated. Are they all isolated?
Henning, it's not our product. Yes, they
I don't know.
They are all isolated. But I think we should. I wanted to talk in general about different
But my point was
approaches to making power supplies.
the idea on this was
Yeah.
that you can daisy chain them, and that made it kind of interesting.
Yeah, but you can do that with the Zumas. You can do that with our products as well. I mean, you can
But you-
daisy chain different stuff.
But you can't, because it didn't work.
No, and I think the main problem was that that this outlet is not isolated from the USB. But I mean,
That's
I
what
haven't-
happened.
I haven't
daisy-
dug that much into that product actually.
I think it's great, but when I tried to daisy chain them, and it simply wouldn't work with the same power supply. If you, it just wouldn't work without any noise.
This guy here is something that is doing something similar to this one. I mean, this is our extension unit for DC7, but it's also a standalone power supply. And when this is taking the USB 5 volt as a source to power this guy, we also have a USB input here. So you can power it of a power bank or your phone charger or whatever.
That's an input. I thought it's an output to charge
no.
your. That's
No.
an input.
That's an input. It's got 2 inputs. Either it's USB-C, and then you have a normal DC plug. So it's also capable of taking DC voltage in between 9 and 24, or even AC. That was my goal, so you could power it with coffee or beer or anything. So this is a very sort of Swiss knife something on the input side. And when we had we started off with small units. You know, you have this one, and you have this one, and then you have the MXR, the mini break. I don't know if you've seen it. Very small.
I haven't
one.
seen that.
But all these guys here, they don't have. I don't know if I can hold them here, like this. Those are, you can call them extension units or small power supplies, but they don't have the AC part in it. So you cannot power them off AC mains. So you need some kind of low voltage to power these.
Like one of those laptop power supply thingies.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
You don't plug them in directly.
We should have started from the beginning. You picked that one up, and we started with power banks, and that's the end of the chain, maybe someplace. I mean,
well, then let's go back.
A power supply. What is a power supply for guitar players and people wanting to power a pedal? A power supply has 2 functions. You need to make 9-volt DC, a low voltage, out of something that comes out of your wall outlet.
Making bigger, smaller.
So 2 functions you need. You need to make a safety isolation towards the high voltage, and you want a galvanic isolation in between outlets if you want different outlets to be isolated. And actually, a transformer is what it does. I mean, it's the primary side of transformer.
Put these back. We get to them in the end.
Yeah.
I didn't know this does what it does. I want to talk more about this because that looks really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do that.
Moving on.
It's probably going to turn out to be a very long video, but let's see what happens. I mean, this is a transformer from the DC5. And the toroidal type of transformer. Yeah, we put it there.
We have the transformer cam.
Okay, we got it on here.
Right there.
The big hole in the donut. So, the 2 top wires are those which go into the wall, to the high voltage. And they are totally galvanically isolated from the other, the yellow, the red ones, and the blue ones. So in that transformer, you get a safety isolation from the mains, but you also get all those outlets isolated. And this is what it does. So it's pretty nice little component. Well, it's quite big if you compare it to the switch mode type of transformers. But this is what happens in a linear power supply, is that you mostly have you have the transformer, and it does the safety isolation from the grid, and it gets you the isolation between the outlets. Yeah, this is what happens. And you talked about the daisy chaining. Daisy chaining power supplies. We made this link system. Mm-hmm. I don't have any of these link power supplies, but the basic idea was that you had one power supply. You came in with the mains, and you had an aux outlet. Where
I think you might have to go up a bit because you look way too short there.
I should make it go up like this.
I made that small, but
you can't do this anyway. But you were able to link or daisy chain power supplies where you sort of gave the other. What do you say? You link them. What do you do?
You have one mains cable, and then from one power supply, you have a shorter mains cable going to the next one.
Yeah, or an adapter. So you can have a chain of power supplies.
So that on your pedal board, you actually have one mains cable, and you don't have several.
Yes, and then you have several units connected to the same mains output. So you're linking them or daisy chaining them by the high voltage. What we have in the new DC7, and this is also what you have in the Zuma products. These 2 power supplies are from sort of same type. They are switch mode based, and we should talk a little bit about what's the difference between linear power supplies and switch mode power supplies. Okay, the donut thing was a normal mains transformer, and you need a certain amount of core material and copper to convert a certain amount of energy. So this is like a 18 watts transformer, and it weighs, I don't know, a pound, maybe not a pound, maybe 0.3 kilograms, right?
That's definitely the heavy thing in the power supply.
Yeah, and this is operating at the grid frequency. So in Europe it's 50 hertz, and I think Japan and someplace in the US it's 60 hertz. It's a rather low frequency, right? Mm-hmm. If you want to convert energy in a more efficient way, you use a higher frequency. So in the DC7, we have a transformer which is this size, and it's able to convert 50 watts. So it's like 2.5 more powerful than than the donut you have.
Wait, what? So what you're telling me is that the little thing is 2.5 times more powerful.
Yeah, because
than the big thing.
there are some physical laws that tell something about how much of the core material you need or volume to convert a certain amount of energy. And at 50 or 60 hertz, you need a lot. Mm-hmm. And if you're switching or you have an alternate current, transformers work at AC. You cannot make a transformer work at DC voltage. So you have a linear power supply. You have a transformer which is working on the grid's frequency. In switch mode power supplies, you have a MOSFET, a switch, which make a very fast AC.
You're assuming so much knowledge here from me, and
okay.
I did read no.
Anyway, what you'd like to have this isolation. You'd like to make some low voltage outlets out of high voltage.
Yes.
So you need this transformation thing going on. And if you do it as the grid frequency, you have a certain boundary. If you want 50 watts or a certain amount of power, the transformer needs to be a big, bulky, because you need a lot of power. If you want to make this transformer smaller, you need to increase the frequency. And therefore, you need some kind of control circuit. You need to take the DC and chop it up in some very fast
instead of 50 or 60 hertz, you're doing it at a much higher frequency.
With 50, 60 hertz, you go directly into the transformer.
Yes.
With the switch mode technology, you take the AC mains, you rectify it to a very high voltage, but DC. So you have like a 400 volt battery, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have a transistor which is like turning it on and off, on and off. Then you get like a square wave.
Okay.
And then you put that into the small switch mode transformer.
Instead of having power all the time, you have power half the time, on and off and on and off.
Yeah, but with very high frequency.
Yes.
And because of the high frequency, the transformer can be much smaller.
Okay.
All right.
I understand about 14% of that. Good.
Okay.
Yeah,
but this is
for them. It's not for me. I don't have to understand. They do, because they're nerds.
But
you guys are.
Nowadays, you have a lot of different power supplies on the market, and some of them are still linear, and they are rather heavy, on the heavy side, 1 pound, 2 pounds, stuff like that. And then you have those which are purely switch mode, where everything is done with the switch mode technology. Mm-hmm. And then you have a part of the products which are half switch mode, half linear.
In one product?
In one product.
Okay.
So, the Zumas from Strymon and our DC7, they're fully switch mode. Mm-hmm. So you have a main transformer like we have, and they also have a main transformer for the main AC-DC converter. So you start coming in with AC mains, and you make a lower voltage, which is totally separated from the AC mains. And they have 24 volt. We have also 24 volt. Mm-hmm. Actually, the Ojais, the two Ojais from Strymon, and our 4 and 8, they all compatible. So you can have a Zuma, and you can put one of those together with this one, and
chain through with the
24 volt.
With the 24 volt, yeah. Okay.
And you can do another way. I mean, you can go like this. So if 7 outlets not enough, you can use a high, but you can of course also do like this, or go like this. But the thing is, we talked about that these units they have like a main AC-DC converter, which is making low voltage, and in that transformer, you get the galvanic safety isolation from the grid, from the AC mains.
Okay.
And then you have a low DC voltage, 24 volts. But it's just one. But you need like a lot of DC, 9 volt DC voltage. So you need to isolate those from each other. And this is done by another step, some DC-DC converters, which work also as switch mode converters. Got it? Not really?
I like the big thing at the beginning. It's doing the same thing going from 20.
So this is This is the DC7. If you look here, you make here there's a filter, and then you have this main transformer. This is making our low 24 volt voltage.
We need to show this over here. Wait, let's switch around. Come on, you go there because you got the.
Yeah, we have different. I mean, it's the same thing is going on in different. We have like just to show you this. 3 different power supplies.
You have to see what they're seeing.
Okay.
Check up there.
No.
Go to the pedal side, Leslie. They'll show more. There you go.
I don't know. Okay, I don't know. Should we talk? Okay.
Show what you just showed me just to the camera.
Here?
Yep.
Yeah, this is the inside of the Zuma. It's like 2 storage thing. But down there on the board, you have the main AC/DC converter. This is the main transformer. And you make 24 volts. And then on this board, the 24 volts is chopped up in 9 isolated outlets. And there are some small transformers on this board. You may be able to see them here. I don't know. This camera?
No, it'll be too out of focus.
Anyway, the same happens in our product. You have a mains transformer, which makes 24 volts, and then you have small transformers here making the isolation from each other here. You understand that, Henning?
I get it.
Okay. And here is a product which does it differently. You see, you only have 2 transformers here. Don't look at this one. This is only to make the AC outlet. That's kind of strange. But you have linear regulators here. So in these transformers, you have the isolation from the AC mains and the isolation in between outlets.
In the same spot.
In the same spot.
And not individual per outlet.
But the big filtering and making the outlets clean is done in these linear regulators.
Okay.
So this is also why this product is a little bit more heavy, because you don't get the full benefit of the switch mode technology.
So these are switching.
Yeah, and these
are linear.
Yeah.
And in yours and the Zuma,
yes,
both
everything is switching.
Both is switching.
And this is why also we can do. We have full control of each outlet, and therefore all 7 outlets are configurable to 9, 12, 15, 18 volts.
Because each has its own
transformer,
switchable switch mode transformer.
Small transformer, yeah, and also its own switch. And this is what also happens on the Zuma here. You have 2 outlets which are switchable in between 9, 12, and 18.
We can't see that anywhere. Wait,
this is the camera. This is the camera, right? So here you have like 2 outlets which are switchable. Those are fixed 9 volts. On the DC7, we have 7 outlets where each of them is configurable to 9, 12, 15, or 18 volts, right? And on the where we've got, oh, I'm sorry, on the True Tone thing, the one.
Make sure you talk this way, because that's where the mic is.
I got confused. You got too many cameras. 4 years ago it was easier. You had like 3 maybe. So here we go. On the True Tone, you also have possibility of switching in between voltages, but it's rather the low current ones, because the switching is done on the linear regulator, and when you change the voltage on a linear regulator, you lose a lot of heat.
You just lost me right there.
Yeah, I know that.
You are just so. I've never seen anyone being so passionate about power supplies, which is why you're good at your job. This is not a critique, this is a compliment, but oh my God, are you nerdy about power supplies?
This is what I've been doing for like 28 years. So.
But once you get going, you're like, linear something.
But okay, to sum this up, you have
come over here.
Pure linear power supplies.
Wait, gotta move you in the right
the hot spot. Yeah.
Right here, okay.
Am I in focus? Here we go.
Okay.
Yeah, all set. So linear power supplies are based on linear transformers, heavy 50, 60 hertz mains transformers.
Yes.
And then you've got switch mode power supplies. And then the switch mode ones can be pure switch mode or half switch mode, half linear.
What we just saw on the one spot thing. Now I know what you're talking about.
The one spot was taking some of the switch mode technology to save a little bit of the weight and do the main conversion in the switch mode domain. But then to save a little bit, I don't know, it is cheaper to do linear power supplies, and it's easier. But it doesn't give you the full benefit of the switch mode technology, which is where you get the efficiency and you have much more control over the output voltage because you have each converter.
You can actually can control each individual output.
And here you've got another example, and it's not so, we don't have that much structure of what we do here, but this is here you have the safety isolation you have taken out of the box
On the outside.
so you have an adapter making a small this is also switch mode making 18 volts. So this doesn't get any AC mains.
Is it similar to what's happening on the Ojai? Because the Ojai has an external power supply.
It's got an external power supply, yeah. So
if you use it by itself.
It's you can say this is a big Ojai, but not really, because this one actually also is made on a mix of linear and switch mode technology. So you have actually a switching adapter making a low voltage for this one. So in this box you have this galvanic isolation, the safety barrier towards the AC mains.
And then that's all linear again.
No.
No?
And this one's got two transformers. It was really hard to put it back together again, but we can try to open it up.
It's yours. I don't care if you can get it back together. We just want to see it.
Yeah, we can open this up.
That will be totally your problem.
Shit. Oh, here it goes. And see, I think, which camera is it?
I'm going to make some space here.
We are on this camera. So here we've got two switching transformers, and they are chopping the 18 volt coming into isolated channels. But the final regulation is actually done in linear regulators inside the box. And if you look here, the voltages are mostly fixed on these outlets, and just a couple of them are adjustable, right? So, but it's just to show you that that there are many different ways of making a power supply. So here you got an external adapter for the Ojai and for the Cioks 4 and later the 8. And we also have the X4 from Vodolab here, not to forget, which is also a kind of satellite unit, which where you have to come in with 12 volts. So also to tell you that there are some standards being made. Vodolab have the 12 volt as a sort of satellite standard. MXR is using 18 volts. Strymon and Cioks and us, we are using 24 volts. And you can say that this 5 to 9, it's only being it can only be powered by 5 volts.
See, I don't understand current things and electronic.
But voltage, you know.
No.
No, okay.
I literally don't know what that means. And everyone yells at me like, learn about it. No, I don't want to learn about it. I play guitar. I don't give a shit. I can understand how you can take something big and make it smaller.
Yeah.
I don't understand how you make something small and make it bigger. No, that's not a penis joke. No, stop it. I don't understand how you take 5 volts and make 9 out of it. I get it, 24, there's a lot of volts, and you make them into 9s. I get that.
I mean, you can probably understand that taking higher voltage, making into a lower voltage, that's probably doable in a normal man's mind. Right?
Yes.
But making taking a 5 volt like you do in this box and making into 9 volts, or this is what in switch mode technology is called a booster, where you're using a coil to make a higher voltage. You're using the switch mode technology, and you can do anything. Once you have a DC voltage inside the box, and you have MOSFET transistor powering these transformers, you can transform the voltage to a higher voltage. So, but anyway, these boxes here, I have to. This is like playing, I don't know, a game.
Yeah, you're
so
totally chaotic here.
Yeah. I don't know how much do we have on this camera. Oh, excuse me. Oh, no. But anyway, the standards for linking. We talked about daisy chain power supplies, not just pedals. I mean, Strymon have shown that you can have quite many of these Ojai units connected to this one. And there you use 24 volts. This is the same what is going to happen if you have the DC7. You'll be able to connect several of the Cioks 4 units, right? So Strymon and Cioks 24 volts. You have the MXR having the 18 volt standard. And you have Voodolab having the 12 volt standard. And then you have these couple of products being able to be powered by a power bank by 5 volts. But what we've done here with the 4 is actually we said we would like to be able to take anything. So this one can be used as an extension unit for any other power supplies being able to supply it with some DC voltage.
Give me that. Let me take a look.
Yeah, please read what's...
It says 5 volt USB-C. That's cool.
So you can power it from a power bank. You don't do it because this is actually not...
I'm just saying. But I could use this. This is my iPad charger.
Yeah, USB-C. Yeah, you could use that.
I could use that.
Yeah.
If I have
you
nothing
wish so.
else. Okay.
Yeah.
And then...
And you could also use a power bank. And this is the same what could be used here.
So 9 to 24 volt DC, 9 to 12 volt AC.
Yeah. The AC is, we've made the AC10 power supply. You have an AC outlet because you maybe had a Magic Stump from Yamaha, or you had a tube wiggler from Electro-Harmonix, some of those tube pedals that need AC.
Yeah.
And you got rid of it, or your friend stole it from you. And then you've got this 12 watts AC outlet, which can't be used for anything. Then you can buy this one, plug it into the AC outlet, and you get 4 isolated DC outlets.
So I could almost plug any kind of power supply into that, as long as it fits in there.
Yeah, but the good thing is also non-polarized. It can take AC, but it's also, you can have a one spot, which is bus polarity. But if you open your drawer, you can maybe have, I don't know, an adapter for your toothbrush or whatever you have.
And I can use that.
And you can use that, yeah. That was the whole idea with this.
That is absolutely awesome. Now, something that you said, which really intrigues me, because I like the expandability of the Zuma with the Ojais.
Yeah.
I've got a Zuma, I've got 2 Ojais. I really like that, and pretty much say, okay, if you've got the Zuma and it's not going to be enough for your pedal board, you can buy an Ojai later. We're totally not sitting correctly.
Are we out of...
You were just way too passionate about the pedals. So, this looks so weird. Or the other way around, if I have a DC7, I can expand it with the 4 or the 8. But you said because they're both 24 volts, they're interchangeable.
Yeah.
I can put a 4 or an 8 behind the Zuma.
Yes.
Which I find a very interesting concept. But the Zuma has a different plug.
Yes. But it's the same plug. No. We use the same plug for... on the DC7. The thing is that on the 4, because
that looks different.
Yes. This is because we will make some adapter cables, which are converting the... Are we here?
A little bit too close.
I can't go below.
You use that one. Use that. Use the movable one and then just hold it down.
Okay, on the 8...
No, you're too close. You're too close to the camera.
Here we go.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. On the 8, we'll have the same connector.
Okay.
It's called EIJ... I can't tell it. It's a Japanese standard, but it's also called a DC plug, which has some weird dimensions. But anyway, the standard Strymon cables to connect Ojais to Zumas can be used for the DC7 to Ojais or DC7 to the 8.
Okay.
And for connecting the Cioks 4 to Cioks DC7, there will be some cables we will make with...
You have an adapter?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, that was really pretty much my only question. How do I connect them if it's a different plug?
But I think it's important to know that it's quite nice that you can mix, because some people might already have a Zuma, but they need 15 volts, which Zuma doesn't offer. So you can buy a 4, and there you have the options of 9, 12, 15, or 18.
If I ask you what pedal uses 15 volts, then you're going to be the super nerd and you'll actually know, right?
Yeah, because we the radial tone bones, which is, for instance, used by Daryl Stromer from Phil Collins, You have some new stuff. Otto machines from France, pretty odd. I don't know what they do, but I had a guy who asked me if he could power them with the DC7. We've got a picture of that on Instagram where he's powering 3 of these. And I don't know, I can't remember. But then you have an option to actually choose 9, 12, 15, 18. If you have a OCD, some kind of drive that can take anything from 9 to 18, you can actually play around with these for voltages. We made the 15 volt on the DC7 as well, also to be able to use all these utility boxes from Radial Engineering Canada. I mean, if you're a guitar player, you might not know what is going on the rest of the stage, but they have a lot of these direct boxes, phantom power devices, a lot of different stuff this size, but it's 15 volts. And you have all these wallboards laying around the stage. And so I thought that would be really, really nice to have the 15 volts as well.
The great thing is, what I really like about the Ojai and what I love about this is because of the switching, super light.
Yeah.
And this feels, I'm going to say 4% or 4 to 10% more sturdy than the Strymon thing. The Strymon likes the pretty with the blue and all this, but I like that it's like the powder coating is rougher and stuff.
It's not the powder coating that makes it sturdy. I mean,
I mean it feels this feels like a tank.
Okay, the thing is that this is Zuma. We opened up the Ojai as well. It's all aluminum, so they are it's aluminum is lighter. But it's not as stiff as steel, and we are using steel for the bottom to give it the rigidness, and then we have aluminum on top.
Okay, it just the first impression is this is a heavier weight, not weight, but it's a heavier quality kind of a product.
I can tell you also that, and it's nice products definitely, and Zuma makes super nice products. The first Ojai they made, this is the first one. They used some very thin grade aluminum. They changed that simply because some people were you're actually able to squeeze it, and that's maybe not super nice. The new Ojai, the R30, which is longer, is made of slightly thicker aluminum. So and the Zuma of course has got a thicker top plate because it's a bigger box. But the smaller device is, the more sturdy it will become mechanically. If you talk about the enclosure.
The whole product range now, the 4, the 7, the 8, the older 5, they have a form factor that fits under even the flattest boards.
Yeah, but I mean it's very important to say that when we made this one, that was flat, and that was the flattest thing at that point. I think it's 28 or 32 millimeters. I can't remember. Let me see.
That's definitely flatter.
Yeah, but now all new products in the future power generation, we made 1 inch tall. So this is 1 inch. And let me just check. I think this is. I think it's 31 millimeters. I can't remember but this I forgot it because now it's.
And the weight difference is quite severe. This is quite a severe weight difference.
And you can. This is like 48 watts of power in this one, and this is like this is 3 times more powerful than this one, definitely.
Yeah, this has 300, 300, 300, and 3 times 100, and this got 7 times
660.
660. What I do like about... Wait, let me put this down, because we're juggling so many things here. What I do like about the Zuma, which is why it is yet still on the table, is that I don't have to think about what outlet I use to power whatever.
Yeah.
Because it's just always 500, pretty much almost always works.
This is the same because, I mean, the technology put into each of these outlets is the same as they have. They've made like 7 outlets which are pure 9 volt, and they made 2 changeable in between 9, 12, 8. They omitted the 15 volt because they thought, okay, the Canadians, I wouldn't say
fuck the Canadians.
Yeah, you said that. But here, if you've got a 9 volt pedal, it doesn't really matter which ones you plug into because they are the same.
That's why I do like.
If you have the true tone, you have different. You have different outlets, and this is I've shown you the way it was built inside. So you have a winding on the main transformer for each outlet, right? Here we have a transformer for each outlet.
Yes.
And they're all the same. So this is the same happening in the Zuma and the DC7. If you have this One Spot Pro, which is the True Tone flat version of, you can say that these, if you look in the form factor, these three power supplies could be sort of
form factor wise, they're direct competition.
Yeah. I would say the blue and black one. These two here are pure switch mode. This is a combination of switch mode and linear technology. But here you will have to decide where to plug in because you have like a 100 milliamp outlet, a 200 milliamp outlet, and some 500 milliamp outlets. So if you have a 9-volt pedal, you have to actually read where to plug into because they differ, even if you have them all set to 9 volt, right? And here, it's all the same because the capability, the power capability of each outlet is the same.
I mean, I'm not the normal guy because I don't have the board, I have the table. And sometimes I got more pedals on the table, sometimes less. And it's just nice to know whatever I plug into will power the pedal, if it's 9 volt, because there's enough milliamp on tap.
But I think we should add on top of this that if it's normal pedals, well, it's very, very hard to be above 660 milliamps. But if you're talking some big board like the new stuff from, line 6, the effects or the stomp, well, you and also with tube pedals from Kingsley or from Effect Road, you quite easily be above this limit. And how do you know whether this pedal is powered properly? And this is where we have these individual status indicators. So if you plug in a pedal and this stays on, you know that you're below the limit and the outlet is in regulation, meaning super clean power to your pedal or device. And this is something that that is lacking or on other units. I mean, Strymon do have an MXR, some light indicators.
But it just shows you that something's
plugged in.
Yeah.
And so this is, in my opinion, a very nice feature that you know actually that your pedal or whatever you're connecting to the power supply is getting correct power in terms of that it's free of any noise or it's not sagging. I mean, if you set it to 9 volt and the indicator is on, you know it's 9 volt and it's completely pure.
Now on the you said the line 6 stomp. How many milliamps does that need?
I did a video about this, and the stomp and the effects are those two products. I think they are most popular. I think the stomp is most popular. Both need 2 outlets, so they are both above 660, and one of them is like 900, just around an amp.
That was
the other is 700 milliamps. So I think the stomp is 700, 800.
I'm just gonna go there because with your product, I can actually take 2 with a something cable, flex cable. Don't ask me. The flex.
Yeah. And actually, I brought these 2 because I thought we might be talking about these. And if you see,
you prepared? Wow.
Yeah, and we changed the way we packed them. I don't know if you remember, we had those yellow stickers, and those yellow stickers I had 8 years ago, and they were not very nice. But they like. We stick to that.
Let me see if I can figure this out.
Now you have both the code, you have the color coding, and you have also an explanation how to use the cable. So it's actually quite nice. No, this camera, Henning, if you want to show the details, you should know that. Yeah, so this is the cable. This is a well, we've got time. You might as well get the story. I get an email from Patrick from Leprechaun or Leprechaun in Canada, and he asks me for a cable, which is Boss standard with center negative, but for the bigger pin 2.5 millimeters. What do you need this for? Well, I've got this Digitech pedal something, and there are no Digitech pedals having this standard. I said, okay, we make this one for you. So I asked my cable manufacturer, do me this cable, make it yellow, and make me, I don't know, 200, 400 pieces. And I sent him, I don't know, 5, 10 pieces. And then he bought 3 more half a year later. And that was it. So I had like 400 yellow cables in my stock. And suddenly, I don't know, Line 6 is releasing a whole bunch of products in this standard.
And they need that plug.
And in 2 months, all the yellow cables were gone. So I'm out of stock now, waiting for a new batch.
So what you need is you need this.
You need the parallel adapter flags
to take two outlets into one.
Yeah.
And then you need
a yellow Type 3 cable.
A yellow Type 3 cable.
They're all color coded. And if
you need the gray
here
parallel adapter and the Type 3 cable, and then you can power your.
I think this is our flex cable selection guide, where you can see the different types. Black one is the Boss standard. Then you have the red one for opposite polarity, for some fuzz pedals, some diamond pedals. The green one is also very well known. Are we in focus here?
And a little bit back towards you. There you go.
For eventides. And then you have the yellow one, just in Gen 1 length. And I think we added, the Line 6 products here, we added the description, so you can see what it's needed for. So for stomp or effects from Line 6, you need the yellow cable and 2 outlets on DC7.
Where does one get the flex cable guide?
Well, you get one with each power supply. It's included.
Ah.
So with the box, in the box.
That is very clever.
Yeah.
Almost as if you're a clever man.
Oh, maybe.
Almost.
Sometimes it happens.
So I can take the DC7, get these 2 cables, and actually power the Line 6 thing, which means I don't need the Line 6. They have probably like a wall wart or something like this.
It's quite big, and the thing is that it's the direction of the 2 pins is quite odd, because if you have a power strip, most likely you have the adapter going in the opposite direction, so you get something which is pretty unhandy to put anything.
I really would hate to have a pedal board, and I always bitch about that on products when it needs a proprietary power supply, because you want to be able to put the board down and plug in one thing and then be done, and not that one thing and that wall wart and then the specific electroharmonics thing. So you make great products. There's no question about that. I'm going to blow some smoke up your ass. But I think what's very special about you is that, yes, your product can power that thing. You know what? Other products can power that thing too. But you're trying to help the pedal board guy to find out what he actually needs and give him the ins and outs and the adapters and all that to make sure that he can actually power the whole board only with Cioks.
Because that's our goal. I mean, if you look, we don't have it here, but Friedman, they also did a power supply, a switching power supply.
I have it, yes.
But it's only got 9 volts. So even if you have a 12 volt pedal, you'll have a problem with that. And you see the Strymon has the 12 volt, 18 volt because they are more, popular, those voltages, right? And 15 volts is something, we only have that. And of course, the Kingsley guy in Canada and the Effectro guy in UK, they're happy that, the Effectro doesn't need 15 volt. But anyway, the Kingsley, who makes, do they do 15 volt? Now I get totally confused. Anyway, we do the 15 volt for the Canadians, for the radial.
Can you get can you get little adapters to combine 2 outlets into one for the normal 9 volt plugs for the Zuma, for example?
Didn't get that.
If I wanted 1,000 milliamp, can I do that with the Zuma?
Yeah.
Yeah?
But I'm not sure whether they sell these cables.
So you have to buy that from a third party?
Yeah, probably, yeah. But yes, you can do a parallel connection of 2 out of Zuma.
So you'll have to find another supplier that does that cable, and then
the same with the Line 6. The funny thing is that if you want to do this trick we do with this yellow cable, if you want to do this with the Zuma, because it is actually possible to power the stomp or the effects with the Zuma, you have to have the normal cable. Then you have to have an adapter which converts the polarity, and then another adapter to change the pin size. So you end up with 2 adapters plus the adapter for making the pedals.
Yeah.
You have one adapter, cable, and two adapters in the end.
Which you would all have to track down and find and source.
Yeah, but it's also making your sort of connection prone to maybe some failure. The more connections you have, the more things could happen. You know, if you keep it simple,
Well,
it's
that's
more,
the other thing about.
and it's also it gets a little bit bulky, and if you have a lot of these adapters.
And let's go to pros and cons here. Big pro about your RCA connection is it's a very stable connection.
Yes.
So even though I plug this in and this in and I have two adapters, it is a very stable connection. The con is every time I use a Cioks power supply, I have to go to my Cioks power supply drawer where I only have those RCA
But
connectors.
another advantage, when you start messing around with doing series connection, parallel connection, you can't go wrong which end goes into power supply, which goes into the pedal. Because with the more normal Boss style DC connectors, you can do some really weird connection. You wanted to make a parallel connection, you end up with making a series connection, and instead of having twice the current, you have twice the voltage, and you can end up giving 24 volt to a 12 volt pedal.
And that's not good.
That's not good.
Okay.
And here, actually, with the new ways of packaging, it's besides because I understand the guitars play maybe don't know the laws of electronics and parallel series connection, but then you can read on the back now.
Wait. We have to read?
Sometimes it
Oh,
helps.
come on!
But it actually also says in this guide, and it's easier to read because it's only 2 lines. I think if you go here and go parallel adapter, sums the max current of 2 isolate outwards much. Well, yeah, it's pretty. Just 5 lines.
The thing is, this guide, the cables, and the whole system, it is to help us end up with one plug that we plug in at the gig. And that's what I love. You're not... Yes, other products with other third-party products might be able to pull that off as well. But I can see you on social media and in emails and on your website trying to gather all the information to help the pedalboard community find out what they need. Last time we talked about pedals not actually needing exactly the milliamps that they say they do. We talked about Strymon. The big Strymons say they need 350, well, when 280 is enough. And the small Strymons, they need 250.
They need around 200 milliamps. But yeah, this is because some of the old linear power supply manufacturers they try to look as they maybe could do more than it was possible, and this is why you needed so much headroom. Mm-hmm. Because if you had a power supply that said it was able to do 300 milliamps, it maybe only was able to do 180. So the pedal manufacturer maybe wanted you to go to a 500 milliamp outlet just to get 300, you know? So that was a problem.
So they had to do that because the power supplies weren't really delivering what they said there. How does it look now with switching power supplies?
The thing, if you look at the table, the brands I've got here are I can speak very well of. So that problem is not current with these brands.
So they all offer what they actually say.
Voodoo Labs, Strymon, True Tone, Cioks, I would say MXR as well. This is probably like the top 5 in terms of quality and reliability, and also if those companies are stating a certain amount of power per outlet, you can rely on that.
Okay.
And that's quite important. But I mean that leads me to another thing. Two more things. We have these have these indicators for each outlet. And Strymon they said that you can daisy chain loads of these Ojai on top of the Zuma. Where is the DC7? Yeah, here it is. But the thing is, when do you reach the maximum? I mean, it's even if it's a very powerful box, and this as well, it has its limitations. These two are the same, have the same power capability. Mm-hmm. It's 48 watts, and if you're using like 100 milliamp pedals on this, you can probably power like 50 of these. So you can put quite many of these Ojais or Cioks 4s in conjunction with these. But when do you reach the limit? And on this one, you don't know. So it can go in thermal overload.
When it starts to smoke.
When it starts to smoke, yeah, that could be.
That's an indicator.
Yeah, that's an indicator. Yeah,
We use it quite a lot in our lab.
But we have this this power meter, and it's actually showing you how much are you loading the main converter.
40, 70, or 90%.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's really nice, because then you actually know where you are with this thing. And I can tell you what happens. I mean, if you have this one and you play around with these effector pedals, we had a customer with a really nice board. It's on Instagram now. He had like 4 effector pedals. They're really expensive, and a Temple audio board. It was a really cool board. So it's loading the D7 quite heavily. When the red line is on here, you're at 90% or above. So this is the time where you should be thinking about maybe getting another power supply, and you should definitely monitor this, because this is also an indicator. It's not just to give some light to our logo. So when this one is turning off and these 3 are on, it means you are above the limit. You're like 110, 115.
So you have a stop
This is
it
like
button.
stop it. Yeah.
90 is technically stop it, but
If 90 is on and this is always on, you're good. But you're just at the edge. You know?
Okay.
So the next thing that happens is that this is turning off and these are on. And that means that the show could be...
Take something off.
Yeah. And the next step is not smoke, is that this is going to blink, and then you're out of power. You know, this is like a Thomann shutdown. But you get quite many warnings. You know, you have the indication of how much you loaded. If you go above 90%, there is a certain point, and that's above 100%. It's like around 110, 115, where this global indicator is turning off. The show still goes on. But if you keep going and the sun is shining and this is off, the next things that happens, it shuts,
you don't want to push it. Don't go there. So but it's great that you have an
indicator. But you have it because with other units, it's a thermal shutdown, and that's the first thing that happens.
But you would need a lot of pedals to make that happen.
Or some very nice pedal from UK.
Okay, that you don't want to break.
So.
I do love the USB out. I know technically I can buy like a €2.50 wall watt power thing. There you go. To charge my phone or whatever. But there are things on pedal boards now where you might actually want your phone with the for the
even side, for the H9, if you're in the studio, you can program it or access some of the controls. You don't have access. I'm not super good at the even side, but I know that you have access to much more control over the pedal. Well, some people are just using it for lyrics on the stage.
It's just nice to have. I mean,
there are a lot of things powered by USB. There are also some sound modules actually.
Plus, technically, I know you give me the cable to put the 4 behind it, but I could technically also just use a USB cable from that to this.
You could. But that would be...
it would be stupid because you give me the real cable.
No, not. It wouldn't be stupid, but you will be... the thing is that the USB standard, the old one, doesn't have that much power. This one has 1 amp. That is enough to charge your phone, to keep an iPad alive. We could have gone to 2 amps, but so that was not necessary. And it's not meant to power this one.
Because this has 660 each, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you have this one, you will power it from the 24-volt outlet.
But I could, if I wanted to, put the 529 behind it, because that's
this one.
Yeah.
Yes, but what would you do? If you had this one lying around and you just need it.
Well, I wouldn't buy this end of 529. I would buy this end of 4.
Yeah,
but I have 2 of these. I don't have one of these. Hint, hint, hint.
Yeah.
Get it? I don't have one of these.
So you could actually power this one with this one.
That's what I'm saying. You're giving me options.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I could put...
A lot of people have a one spot. So I think because this one will start to sell as an extension. Because we have pretty hard time to find an external power supply which is flat enough to match the 1 inch. Because this is actually 24 volt of power you have here. So you need at least a preferably 36 watts adapter for that. And if the adapter is getting like twice the size of this one, doesn't really make sense.
Then it's pointless. Yes.
But you could use this one. I mean, this got.
But then I have to buy the one spot to get that.
But you have many of these in your drawer. You have one spot in your drawer, maybe.
Actually, I don't have one spot, but I have a shit ton of wall warts, like a shit ton.
Yeah, and the whole idea was you could basically take any one you have and plug it in. It's a non-polarized plug, so it doesn't really matter what polarity you have.
So the chances that I plug something in that's going to break that are slim.
Yeah, and you can't break it because we have an overvoltage protection and we have also undervoltage protection. So this main LED will just not come on.
Okay. So you're saying so this is not out yet?
No, but it's very, very soon it will be.
And the DC7 is out?
Yes.
Let's talk pricing. How much is the DC7?
Oh, the DC7 is 245 euros and in 229 US, the map price for that.
Okay.
And I think if you compare it, I think it's 279 euros.
It's a little bit cheaper than Zuma, absolutely.
Yeah, but you can also say that it's got a little one outlet less, and this is where it's kind of inferior. But you get many
pros and cons. It's slightly cheaper. It has one outlet less, but it is flatter.
Yeah, it's slimmer. It's the same power.
It's not blue.
It's not blue. No.
So I mean, come on, show me the 8, because that's the last thing.
The 8 thing. This is a very early prototype, so the layout will be changed a little bit, but it'll have 8 outlets. 5 of these will be configurable to these 4 voltages.
Mm-hmm.
It will not have a USB inlet because we feel that having that on the 4 is enough, and powering 8 different pedals of a USB power bank is a little bit too much.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't really make sense to have like 20 minutes of power. It's a 8 times 6 watt. It's a 48 watts power supply. It's as powerful as Zuma. It just doesn't have the main engine, the AC part.
So this is a pure extension to the DC7.
Yes. Or if you power it from an external adapter, you have 8 outlets. I mean, if you feel that it's nice to have it like split, because this is super. This is going
Does
to
it
be
have
super
the same thing as the 4, where you can plug any adapter into it?
Yeah, it will actually have a 24 volt in as this funny thing, and an out, a through, so you can have several of these. And it'll also have this non-polarized plug as
that's what I mean.
On the 4. Yeah. So you will be able to power this off anything in between 9 and 24 volts.
Okay.
But to get the full power capability of this, you should power it of 24 volts.
Okay.
Also, I can tell you that we will make some nice long cables for people building racks. So my idea is that in the old days you had like 230, like the mains voltage going into each drawer, and on each drawer you had a power supply. That meant some thick cables, which were not very flexible. You had more of the AC power around in your rack, and it's high power AC, so it probably added to some overall noise in the environment. Okay. So my suggestion for the future for people building racks is to get one of these or one of these to have a main power supply.
And then daisy chain the 8 through on each drawer.
The 24 volts, yes. Because then you have DC going to each drawer. It will be a more flexible, nicer cable.
So the extension cable, the 24 volt cable, you're going to offer in longer to go from drawer to drawer.
Yeah, we plan for 2 meters. Also, if you have like a satellite board, you have a main board on the stage.
Yep, and I love that idea.
And I've seen some people having some devices like on the mic stand. I've also seen keyboard players having some stuff on the floor and on the table. So sometimes you just have to travel with your power more than 1 meter or 24 feet or whatever. So
I love the idea of having a satellite board. I have my main board, but let's say then I've got all the ambient stuff, which I don't want to take to my rock gig. But next time I need to take it, I've got my satellite board. I've got the 8
then
in
you have
it,
this one, and then you can have the 8 or the 4.
Yep.
and then you connect it, interconnect with 24 volts in between those, and so you power both with one mains power cable.
See,
So
now I'm thinking about how can I use that, because if I have the 7 on the table, which I will, then I could actually have a little board for certain applications where I need to show something. That's just a board with a standard overdrive compressor reverb that just throw on the table, but instead of plugging everything in individually, I just plug in the 4 and it's going to power my board.
Yeah.
So I can throw that on the table, and with one little extension cable, it's done. I don't have to work too hard.
Yeah.
That's and we all want to, work less. Pretty much, that's the whole general idea. Okay, that's so the 8 and the 4. When can we?
Well,
when? Come on. When?
It'll be this year. The 4 is coming out first, and
Okay.
it's been delayed like a lot of our stuff, but I think it'll be in the beginning of June.
Okay, so that's not too long then.
No.
She said.
And I think that the 8 will be sometime just after I come back from the summer holiday, something like that.
Okay. So this year?
Yeah, definitely.
But it's definitely safe to already get a DC7 because, they're coming.
Yeah, and we are really happy about this product. I mean, it's the customers have taken it very, very nicely to themselves. So.
And you brought me something that I want to... Wait, where is it?
Oh, yeah.
No more drilling, right?
Yeah.
Because it's how do you put these things on the boards or under the boards? It's annoying.
Yeah, I mean, the usual stuff was to drill a couple of holes and attach it.
So this is... I don't know how this... I don't know. But you're saying I don't have to do that anymore, right?
No. We call it the grip.
So what? So there's screws, and that they screw into the pedal.
Yeah, what you do, you attach the grip to the power supply by means of 2 screws.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is actually made for pedal train boards.
Okay.
So the distance here is matching the profile of a pedal train board. I think I got some answers or questions with regards to some of the clones of the pedal train boards, but they are made of slightly different size of the profile. So I can't tell you if it's going to work with other boards. But this is made for pedal train boards. So you attach it to the DC7 here, and then you place the power supply, and it can be used both with Metro and the Mini and the Nano Plus, but not the original Nano.
Okay.
And then it can also be used with the Novo and the Classic models for the tilted ones.
So it clips on, and then
then it clips on the top of the bars. Yeah.
Okay.
And then you simply you tighten 2 screws here.
Okay.
And you have it's a little bit it's spring loaded. You see this.
Okay.
So it
just clamps on.
Yeah, it clamps on. Yeah.
Nice. So that definitely makes it easier, because oh my god, I've spent so much time trying to get power supplies secured to boards.
Yeah,
it can be quite annoying.
Can be if you're not good with a drill bit and.
Not just that, but then I had to. I mean, for the Pussy Power, which is an amazing thing, but for the Nick West boards, I had to then Dremel away on the boards because you had to.
Yeah, that was a rock board, or was it?
It was a rock board. Yeah.
Okay.
And then
it wasn't adapted to those boards.
And I had to Dremel away on the boards to get the plug-in.
Yeah.
And it can be quite annoying. But what I do love about the DC7 is, it has a screw holes at the bottom. You could just drill holes and with flat screws put it underneath. But also, technically, can I put a pedal on top of here?
Yes, you can. And this is something that we didn't mention it. Another advantage in switch mode technology is that with the linear power supplies, where you have the mains transformer, this one is operating at the frequency of the grid, so it's 50-60 hertz. And around this thing, any electromagnetic component like a coil or a transformer, you'll get an electromagnetic field. And this is what is being picked up by the wah pedals or high gain pedals.
We did a test on that video on my channel.
We did a test. We could do another one. The thing is that people say, and it's partly true, partly not true, that the switch mode power supplies don't make any noise at all because you don't have any transformers in it. And that's a complete lie because, of course, you have transformers in it. Just smaller, and they work at a frequency which is 50,000 hertz, 50 kilohertz, or 100, 120 kilohertz. So they do have electromagnetic field, and that is picked up by the wah pedal, but it's not audible.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that because it's switch mode technology, you have to do a lot of filtering, and the filtering is done on the input side. So here you always have an input filter, and that is operating at the mains frequency. But the thing is, if you have, it doesn't matter if it's a One Spot Pro, if it's a Zuma, or it's a DC7, they have to have an input filter.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And not to pollute the mains because it's a switching device. But if you have a wah, if we did the same test and say that that this was the wah pedal, you would have to be like less than an inch with the coil inside of this, just above the input filter of the device. So people telling that they don't have a proximity hum problem, that's partly correct because you really have to know where the filter is.
They have it
and
in a very narrow
you
spot.
have to know where the wah coil is, and you have to place them
So
directly.
chances to do this by accident are relatively small.
very, very.
I'm thinking about this, for example. Let me get down here. I'm thinking about something like what I might do is if I had the 7, where's the 7 here? I might actually fix this to it with maybe with Velcro. That actually means I can put the DC7 on top of the board. And no fiddling around with screws, whatever. Just Velcro at the bottom, whatever.
I think that DC7 could be used on boards. I mean, you have different kind of boards, but many users are using just the flat board, and then you make like a top level.
Yeah.
And having a thing like this, well, it's slightly taller than Zuma or Zuma. It might be a little bit too tall.
Yeah.
For this next level. And this might be just enough to raise the second row of the pedals.
I mean, I could even, if I know that I've got this set up right, do this. And then pretty much you clamp a pedal in here, but you don't fit the pedal on it all the time. I can actually change the pedal in here.
Yeah, but
that would be neat.
You could do that.
And
I think also important thing, we didn't mention that with...
I like this. Because then it's not under my board. If I can put it under my board easily, fine.
Keep it on top, but with nothing on top of it.
Yeah, because you want people to see what I'm using.
How about like this? Use a pedal, and then you just stomp on the DC7 to turn it on. Then you don't mess around with the knobs on your pedal. So it stays in the same setting all the time. But Henning, another thing we forgot to mention about what the switch mode technology gives you is it's a great advantage on the old units. The Voodoo Lab didn't have it, and some of our users or customers, they switched to our units, not mainly, but one of the reasons was that we had this switch.
Oh yes,
and you could use the power supply in US at 120 volts. And in Europe or Australia or UK at 230 volts. But you had to remember to flip the switch, especially when you went back from US, because if you went to US and forgot it, it just wouldn't work.
Yeah.
But if you came back and forgot to flip the switch back, you blew a fuse. And the good thing about, both the Zuma, the DC7, and also the One Spot Pro, is that you have what we call the universal mains. There is no switch, and it takes anything in between. Well, around 100. Ours has a slightly broader input voltage range from 90 to 265. So that means if you're in Japan, you can still use it.
What do they have in Japan?
100 volts. So this is pretty weird. If you go to Japan with the DC5 or another linear power supply, and you set it to 120. It might work, but the power capability would be much lower.
So see, for me, I wouldn't care about this, but for any traveling, gigging musician,
this is
really valuable.
This is very valuable because you only have to switch the cable.
Yes. I mean, I can absolutely imagine that many people coming back to Germany or to Europe broke their power supplies.
But see, there is no fuse. I mean, there is a fuse inside
Yeah.
the Zuma. There is a fuse in the DC7. It's mainly if you, I don't know, put it in the bathtub. We have to have a fuse. But
Don't do that. Just don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Don't be an idiot.
So it will work all over the world, also in Japan, and you don't have to flip any switches, and you don't risk to break a fuse. So advantages only, right? And it's light. I mean, if you travel a lot, you like to travel light.
Things have changed in the power supply world. Now I know why Paul called me and said, "Hey, can I come by? We talk about power supplies again." I was like,
Yeah, it's going to be boring.
but I'm still awake because things have changed quite a bit.
Yeah. And the thing is that in the past 4 years, you more and more pedal manufacturers look at the digital domain. So a lot of signal processing is being done in digital domain. And you also see analog pedals which are controlled by some digital stuff. So you have the whole signal being treated in analog domain, but you have some digital circuitry to control that. And because of this digital stuff, you need more power. And so, yeah, it's nice that you have a lot of options. And we try hard to be able to offer different voltages, all the monitoring options, so you know what is going on. This is very important for us. I think reliability on the stage, you're not overloading anything, everything is set right. This is important. And I mean, you have the musicians who just sits at home and he might not care about stuff like that, but this guy playing for 10,000 people, he might want to be sure that the power is good. They call it power good LEDs or power good indicators.
Power good LED. Okay, we're gonna stop this here because this is the 4-hour video on power supplies again.
I think we made it shorter.
Well, yeah, I mean, someone's watching this. You guys are still here, right? So, you know what to buy now, and I'm definitely excited to have a DC7. I wanted one, and now I have one. Thank you, by the way. And I'm gonna say links below. Not to the 4 and the 8, but that's coming. Video on that when it's out. And anything else you want to say?
No.
Good. Then animals at the end.
See you soon. Subscribe to him.
Yeah.
His channel.
Why are you not subscribed yet?
HP42, right?
Yeah. You nutzos. Of course you're subscribed. Otherwise, why are you still here? Bye-bye. There's more than love at stake. There's